Hello again, everybody. As promised, um, this is going to be the Best Buds Club just playoff review. I'm just going to pull up all the brackets, uh, thanks to IGL's handy dandy public spreadsheet, and just kind of go through everything, show how we did as a club. So let's get into it. We'll do the non-Rocket League stuff. So, IGL presents Frankenstein's Org Monsters, I've been calling it. Um, this is, for whatever it's worth, the lowest division in Killer Queen back. Um, Basically, a bunch of first timers in KQB, a bunch of Org owners too, including our famous leader, Dilly. And they just decide to head into KQB. They finished 6th out of 7th, so Division East Division 3 was a round robin league. Um, yeah. So in round one, they in Dilly's term inexplicably swept the number 3 seed. Then got past the number 2 seed, and then got swept by the number 1 seed in the finals. So for basically a since this is the lower division, I'm not even clued into how ranks would work in KQB. But I would assume that for a newer game, and especially I think this is the second circuit that IGL has offered KQB. The lower circuits are going to be just a little bit more volatile with in-game progression and all that. But yeah, still a second place finish for the Org owners. So yeah, good job on them. And I did watch a couple games. I am not familiar with the game, but it's always interesting just to go in there and see what's happening. So that's always interesting. And obviously up top, congratulations to Eat Those Fireflies. So now we get into the Rocket League stuff. So we're just gonna go uh, by mode. Um, yeah, we're just gonna go by mode. So we'll start with 1v1, and then 2v2, and then we have a laundry list of 3v3s. So 1v1. So I covered this in the season review, but I went 0-3 in games played, and I am going to have you know a hot take on all that on my personal channel at some point later today. But I clocked in somewhere between the 11th and 13th seed. That is going to be another rant I'm going to have. But yeah, so I guess I finished with the 13th seed. Um, and I won my first round match. I'm bad at ones. This is tier 6, so is it plat 2? I think it's plat 2 and below. Something like that. I mean, I'm like gold 3, plat 1, but haven't really done a lot in ones. And I was just mainly doing it partially for the experience, try and pick up some side experience, just kind of force myself to play ones. Um, but because I didn't have to play for 3 weeks, um, as a 3-3, I got in. I'm just going to assume that half the division was, wiped out by no shows. which is a problem when you know fragile 1v1ers don't win. So that's a little preview. So I made it into the playoffs at 3-3 as a 13 seed because of all that. I basically just classified myself as make it to the playoffs on default because I fully expected to go 0-6. Yeah, and then won my first round matchup inexplicably. Just have no idea. Well, you know, it's a 3-1. It's a BBC 3-1. I had the chance to sweep and lost game three. Lost game three actually pretty bad. Like 5 or 6 goals. Won all my games by 1 goal. So I lost some goal differential. Um, yeah. Um, and then got to play someone from Void Esports. Took it to five. I'm not saying I could have won. Oh, and they made it. They made it to the third place match. Well, I hope my opponent won that. Um, I took him to five. Obviously, I took him to five, so I had a chance to win. I don't know. I dug my. The final score in Game Five was like 7-5, and I dug myself a pretty big hole. Could things have been different? Maybe. Um, but getting into all that, what if, should have, you know, is sometimes a. We will definitely circle back to this later. Um, basically it's the result is what it is. Like I got beaten game five. My opponent took advantage of my mistakes in game five. I was down 5-0. I tried to make a game of it, but that was just too much for me to come back from. So and obviously my opponent and I forgot their name. But yeah, they got to make it to the third place game. It's going to be tough. It's always tough trying to beat number one seed. Um, but it's ones, and there's just anything can happen. So good on them to get to the third place game. So yeah, I was out in the quarters. All right. So our only actual 2v2 entrant. What division were we? So we're in by default. So Black Dragons, two's team. This is me and green. Um, well, I see that they got to the third place game, and they won. So good on them. They were pretty good. I mean, pretty much all these teams in here were pretty good. Um, Green and I just aren't. I'm just gonna be honest, just aren't good enough at tier two. Um, I don't know if we're one of the exceptions or not. Um, this is also a I. This is a. I understand why IGL does it, but I'm still gonna just make the complaint anyways. Again, I don't know if we're the exception to the rule or not, but we basically play a division down in twos. Um, we've just kind of been flat that way. Um, it may be our play styles, whatever. But again, still, like I just approached everything like just go out there, like it doesn't matter where I got placed. Like we just went out and got the grade 06. And got a rematch in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, our opponents were pretty good as it is, anyways. So, like the fact that they swept us, like wasn't surprising at all. So they just they went out, took care of business, and I would kind of say in a way got rewarded because this looks like a forfeit win for them. Um, you know, and got all the way third place. Again, our opponents were pretty good, and we just weren't good enough. Um, but that's how things go. Got in playoffs by default, and that's actually like the first time that uh, that didn't work out for BBC. Because every other time we've gotten into playoffs by default, um, we've won games. All right, so 3v3. Uh, I mean, I guess I should speak about the elephant in the room, right? That's what. That's 2v2. And so we had a DQ. Um, so it turns out we had someone on probably the ping who was actually a GC. So they're not. This isn't even the right tier. So they're playing like this isn't a case of like Touch Champ 3. This is like prior GC. And obviously you go back and look at everything. Well, yeah, obviously they were. We've taken care of the problem. Um, there's also some rumblings, but I'm not going to get into that because that doesn't do any good. It's this is the problem. I get the lessons learned is always just ask are you sure? Are you sure? Um, you know the difference is what when you go from a main to an alt, um, you should always disclose that. Again, it it's just going to catch up to you, and you know everyone. I shouldn't say everyone, but everyone who has alts usually doesn't have anything that's higher ranked. I have two alts, nothing's higher ranked. But the minute that my alt like passes my main at any point, uh, you know, I'm just gonna say like, well, here we go. Um, you know, but like I just keep alts around, keep one alt around basically to farm events, um, and other things. Um, and the other one I just recently got just to like help out some of the lower ranked members and tell them what they're doing wrong. This sucks. I mean, probably the ping, not affiliated but sister, but they flew under a banner. So that's obviously on us. That just we just like are going to have to always ask the question, "Are you sure?" Because like this call, unfortunately, this calls into question everything they did in the season because they had a grand champ. They finished 5-1. And they look really good. Um, but you know, it sucks in a way, but rules exist for a reason, and it sucks. It just sucks that that it had to turn out this way. I don't know. I don't know really how to do this without jumping down a rabbit hole that I personally just don't want to jump down. Like maybe maybe I'm being naive, but like you know, I just get so tired of everyone just saying like they're smurfing, they're smurfing, they're smurfing. Like I have to listen to that bullshit in ranked, um, and then I have to listen to it in IGL. And the problem is, it's probably like true, I don't know, maybe 5% of the time. And the other time it's just, well, they're GC now and they're in tier 3. It's like, okay, were they GC before? No, but they're GC right now. But they were not at the start of the season? No, but they're GC now. It's like, well, that's allowed in the rules. So, yeah. I don't I don't know really how to actually police it without going deep down the rabbit hole. Um, you know, so and it's just something I don't necessarily want to waste my time on. And, it's something that I don't really feel is necessary. It's like if someone comes out and wins, well, congratulations. You got to be up on a bunch of lower ranked people than you, and it's a free league, and it doesn't count towards your street cred anyways. If you use it as a bragging point, I'm sure it will come out anyways. So, lesson learned from that, you know, and as an org, we have to figure out how to do better to prevent this, because that's it is unfortunately a mark against us. All right, so um, I guess I should just check to see if this happened. Um, that just might have been a forfeit. This is all by default. Um, I don't know. I have ideas as to what happened. You know, it'll be whatever. Um, but yeah. So as a tier 1 2 team. Okay, so uh, I guess we'll work somewhat backwards. This is messed up because we had two teams in tier 2 division 4. All right, so let's go to the tier 1 team. Um, do I have that right? Ah, so our tier 1 team, Crimson Taki, lost in 4 to Big Throw Gaming, and it looks like Big Throw went on to uh, finish second. So congrats to Big Throw from. I'm assuming they're part of Big Top Gaming. Um, actually, I'm pretty sure that was on Coyote's stream. This matchup like Sunday. But yeah, Crimson Taki in Tier One. Rocket League opened division. IGL opened or open tier. So yeah, 1600 plus. They finished eighth. Just lost the close 8-9 match. Hopefully they're getting their roster locked down. Had a little fluctuation, but finishing eighth, in the 1600 plus category is always good. Nothing to be disappointed in, and again, eventually lost to the second place finisher. So, um, yeah, yeah. I guess we'll do. Just making sure I didn't miss anyone. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, boy. So this day was a mess. So Black Mamas. Um, 4th seed. They finished 5-1, I believe. Um, all four of these games were one goal games. You know, as we say, this is why we play the games. So yeah, again, like hats off to Rose Gaming for winning the quarterfinal. They fell in the, you know, or winning the round 16. They fell in the quarters. But again, these, sometimes it's just like I don't mean this like jokingly or kind of thing, but when you have a full division, like then kind of like all 16 teams in the playoff are good, because like you have you usually have 4-2s. The occasional 3-3 sneaks in. But yeah, um, what popped up in the Discord? Oh, my phone's upstairs. Something from IGL. Okay, it's probably an announcement, which is fine. Um, you know, again, Black Mama's had a great season and just went 1-3 in one goal games. That stuff is going to happen. That just shows how much you just sometimes just how close the margins are. You know, not sure what's actually going to happen with this team. One's promoted. I think one player got promoted. They'll be in tier two. We'll see what happens. I think one's taking time off. Don't know what the other's doing, so team won't be around. But again, like it's a good result for all things considered. Kind of a throw together team. Um, but yeah, um, and then the second half of this, and I was really hyped for this team just internally. Um, because they played tremendously. Um, wow, AE got lost in third place game. What was AE? AE is the org. Um, I can't remember which org they're part of. White Mirage. They went 5-1 on the season. Just they looked really, really good. They looked honestly out of the three tier two teams that we had, they were our best tier two team, without doubt. They played so well, and it basically they they kind of lost in even more brutal fashion than Black Mamas. This happened on the same day. White Mirage beat Castle like convincingly, but the three games that they lost were one goal games. So on that day, the BBC teams went 1-6 in close games. And again, it's like, but again, like I even with like that's I know, granted those are soul crushing playoff losses because like it's like you were there and you had the chance. Um, but again, not to take anything away from them, they played. They were our best tier two team. Like I'm not gonna lie, and like when we get to Division Four, like I have a lot of I have like a lot of choice words for the Red Bulls and my team. But like I felt like White Mirage were clearly the class of our tier two teams. I can't say it highly enough. Fish, Snurted, and DZ, um, like you know, I would have you know taken them over either of the tier two teams. And that says a lot when I'm referencing my team. Um, but yeah, an unfortunate end of the season. But I still think that they had a good season. Teams slightly breaking up, so you know, um, we need to find a home for DZ. I don't know what's happening with the White Mirage totally, but if they do stick around, you know, keep getting at it. If they're doing something else, well, good luck in that too. Um, but I mean, they still had a good season. It's just it's unfortunate it just ended the way it did. Okay, so I had to save this one for last because this has two teams on it. Um, uh, so we'll get to this. We'll get to this CF. So we'll start with the Black Dragons. This is not a series that actually completed. It doesn't change much because it technically finished at 2-1 in favor of IGC. So, um, so first of all, the Black Dragons inexplicably finished at 4-2. Um, the internally, this is something we need to work on because this team was never right from the beginning. Um, so um, and we're probably going to end up with a team like this heading into the summer. Um, so I hate that it's going to take like 9 months to finally get it right, but there's just a lot of background on it. So the fact that we're like my team even got in the playoffs um, is amazing. We just weren't good. There were a lot of internal problems. There's just a lot of problems with the team, how it formed, and everything. And it's just personally, it's something I am considering for uh, the 2020 fall circuit. Um, but basically, what happened here is we had uh, internet slash personal issues with one of our team members in the middle of the match. Real life is always going to interject itself at some point. Sometimes it's in the worst possible moment. Um, I'm going to say hats off to IGC for working through with this. The problem is that just when it occurred for the second time, we just felt we'd run out of lives. Like we couldn't. I told Unforgiven, our captain, it's like I can't in good conscience ask for a reschedule once we asked them, to delay the 10 minutes so that we could try and continue the series. I just said we should, out of fairness, just, you know, request a technical forfeit and say that our opponents won because of that. And I think that was more than, I wouldn't say more unfair on our part, but I think it was the right thing to do. IGC was gracious and very sporting to try and work through everything, but it would be unfair on our part to make them keep working, through everything. So yeah. Um, so yeah. The team that never should have been here ultimately kind of crashed and burned. Okay, so that comes to the Red Bulls. So the defending champion from Tier Two, they finished 3-3. Um, Backed into the playoffs and were seeded incorrectly, which you know, I've already mentioned. Um, I mean, I've talked ad nauseum at length about the Red Bulls and just how they just freaking drove me crazy all season long because it's like, you know, it's like you're a defending champion in Tier Two. Like you should be acting like it. Um, but there's a lot of great theories in sports. You know, the disease of Moore, the disease of I got mine, um, and you know, having an on-off switch that you think you can switch on, but it turns out that you can't. Um, yeah, it was just immensely frustrating. Immensely frustrating. Um, to watch this team the entire season. But somehow they decided that they wanted to play a lot of Rocket League, so they went out and beat the one seed. Then Blue Line Army, they went and beat them in four. Had a rematch against the Jaguars. BBC 4-1 them. You know, had a chance to sweep. Couldn't, I think. Um, and got into the finals. I am going to be covering games 1 and 4, specifically the last 30 seconds on my channel. Um, I won't spoil exactly why. Um, and there's technically some issues surrounding this, um, especially the way to game 4 ended in overtime. Um, but I'm going to be just like, you know, outright frank and say that's bullshit because games 1 through 4 were all close. Game 5, the Red Bulls like won 5-1. So whatever issue you had didn't matter in Game 5. Um, and with the chance to close, Tempest clean Red Bull's clock. You know, I cast this with Coyote on Coyote stream. Kudos to Tempest um, for sticking in there. Again, there's a lot of like what ifs that could go into here, which is why I'm going to look at it. It may have, you know, it if you take it at chalk, you know, Red Bulls technically could have had the sweep, you know, which is why I want to look at the last 30 seconds of game 1 and 4. But that's not what happened. What happened was, you know, Tempest won those games. Basically, both sides traded games. No side could get an advantage. You know, so it went from best of 7, best of 5, best of 3, best of 1. Um, and when it mattered most, Tempest won like 7-2, 7-2, something like that in game 6 and 7. Um, yeah. Um, Again, and there's a lot of what ifs, but you know, this is the result, and ultimately, like Red Bulls had two chances to close out the series, and they didn't. So you know, like this kind of sums everything up. Like I I could not figure out this team. I know this is harsh to say, but yeah, it was there, and like it was just self destruction, really. And this is not to take anything away from Tempest. Tempest went out and did what they need to do too. You know, so we got a little from column A, a little from column B. But yeah, that's it. So that's basically how we fared. We put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in 10 squads, teams, whatever, into the playoffs. Um, one, one was DQ'd. One got, you know, couldn't complete round 1 of the playoffs. Um, you know, one player who felt that they didn't belong in the playoffs got to the quarters. You know, and then we got 2 second places. You know, one was a joint effort in Killer Queen Black, and you know the other one's the Red Bulls. So how would I rate the season? it's a mixed bag. You know, ultimately we also had a team lose out on tiebreakers that were actually correctly applied, but it's just maddening when they're not when it's not uniform. Even when it doesn't matter, though it does matter for seeding. Um, so yeah, it's and we like we basically had five. Depending on how you look at it, we had 4 or 5 teams DQ'd. Um, One we sort of knew about, and then there's just like a bunch of problems, and it like it, uh, I should probably just cover that on my personal channel. It's just it doesn't matter if you're 0-6, just show up, compete. Like you know, that's what we're here for. You know, because like yeah, there'll be times when real life steps in and you have to forfeit, and people will understand then. But if you just no show because you're the greatest player within a foot radius of your chair in the world, um, that does no one any good. It doesn't do you good. And that's where all well, we talked about one of the DQs. That's where all the other DQs came from, which is frustrating as hell. So yeah, I would kind of give the spring circuit on our end just kind of a mixed bag. We had some teams overperform. We had some teams in really good shape. And we just couldn't get out of round one. Um, so we may have to look at just trying other things going forward. Um, you know, to make sure that our squads give it their all. I mean, it's weird complaining about being in the playoffs, but you know, we had a lot of high seeds exit in round one. Um, Again, like for the most part, all 16 teams in the playoffs are good, but there is some advantage to being a higher seed. Um, I would say the exceptions to that would probably just be Crimson Taki because it was an 8-9 matchup in the open division, tier one. And technically, the Black Dragons, we finished seventh, but we had no business finishing there. Um, so, yeah. So that will go ahead and do it for this one. I'll get this up on the YouTube so it can live on in posterity. But that will go ahead and do it for our season in review. Well, really our playoffs in review and just kind of the overall thoughts on the season. I've got 2 more videos to record. I'm going to be doing that on my personal channel, twitch.tv/Anderchrist. I'll be doing those today for anyone watching. But yeah, we'll just see if anyone watched. If there's anyone, I can't see what's going on because nothing works. This is in the way. Okay. So yeah, um, just I guess I'll leave a final thought. Just heading into the summer, we've got some work to do, and we've got to. I wouldn't necessarily say improve on our finishes, but just like improve on the squad side of things. Just make sure that that the squads always perform at 100% availability. Like sometimes it's not necessarily about the results. It's did the squad perform you know at its full, and did they do everything they can, and if they lost, well, that's fine. um But this is an extreme example, but we can't have this. Um, I just think that that can lead to some long-term effects, and lead to some bad habits. So like just in a way, sort of cleaning up the mentality, and just making sure that everyone puts not only their best foot forward. I shouldn't have to say like takes it seriously, but like goes in there and does what they can as a squad, and control what they can control, and stop worrying about all the dumb, stupid shit that comes along the way that just doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, um, that will go ahead and do it. We will go ahead and wrap this up. Um, I guess in terms of house cleaning or housekeeping, um, we got an in-house tournament coming up on 27th. We'll stream that. Until the summer circuit starts, I'll at least be streaming on here on Wednesdays. I am going to try and think of something, but it just at the very least, to keep the channel active, I will just be streaming my Rocket League sessions. I will try, which will be this is a problem with the club sometimes. Just trying to throw around ideas, even if it's just playing with some of the fellow clubcasters. Just so that this channel isn't dark for like 3 weeks. So yeah, that'll be the plan. You know, Obviously, if you check in the channel, we have a list of kind of who streams. Ander, Zach, and Squiddy. Ander being me, where we do a lot of streaming, um, BBC related or not. So we're like the most active. Other people there do stream from time to time. I don't know how often, but they are. We did list them. Um, yeah, so I think they'll do it everything because other than that tournament, yeah, we're in off-season mode until the IGL summer circuit starts up again. So everyone watching, whether you're watching live or on the VOD, thank you very much for watching, and I guess we'll see you tomorrow with whatever harebrained stream idea I come up with, which will probably just be boring Rocket League gameplay. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.